John Wick 3 is fucking awesome. I've been following this franchise since the first film came out, and not even one of these films have disappointed me. The first film being one of my personal favourite action films of all time, and in general one of my favourite films, and the second one, while not being as good as the first, is still an amazing action movie that beats out most of the crap that gets pumped out nowadays. John Wick 3, the third film in the franchise, might genuinely be the best one so far, which is not an easy thing to pull off considering how good the first two films are. Let's start with the reason anyone watches these films, the action. Holy shit, the action in this movie is fantastic. The action scenes and the choreography are some of the best in action movies to date, quite literally on the same level as the hallway scene from Oldboy or the group fights in The Raid. Every action scene in this movie is complete balls to the walls action and it never drops, which could be seen as a negative, and that the film is bloated with just straight action that it becomes tiring, like there are some films out there where you just need a break from being constantly bombarded by it. But the action scenes here never stick around, they're the perfect length so that they stay memorable. The film takes its time to build up the absurdity of the action, never delving into Kung Fu Hustle levels of insanity or even Mission Impossible to that extent. The film takes its time to build up the audience by introducing more spectacle into the action, so that you're never bored of what you're watching, beginning to get bored of just watching a normal knife and fist fight. Fuck it, let's introduce dogs into the mix. Tired of watching the same standard enemies? Let's change it up and introduce samurai ninjas. Getting bored of the classic run and gun fight scenes? Hell yeah, let's put Keanu Reeves on a horse and have him chase people. Let's also give him the chance to fight 6 guys on a motorcycle, because why the hell not? There's not a single thing this movie compromises that takes away from its overall enjoyment. The technical backing is amazing. These are some of the most cleanly filmed action scenes ever. There's barely any shaky cam and there's no quick cuts in the action. Most of the scenes are filmed in wide, so you can just take everything in. It makes everything feel so much more real and visceral, and all the more entertaining to boot. You're never lost in what's going on, everything is clear and you're never confused. The sets they've made for these scenes are brilliant. They are so unique and varied throughout the movie, which is another way to keep you engaged in what's going on. Each new place has its own unique style to it, which gives a different feel to each of the fight scenes in the film, and each place they fight in general, is just very aesthetically pleasing, so we just naturally keep our attention to these places as they're good to look at. They do go beyond just looking pretty though, where they're actually used to help out fight scenes, like this is from the trailer so it's not a spoiler, but there's a stable and it's not just used because they wanted it there. The horses and environment are used in the fight to take out people, and it's not just another random place to have a fight. They have a lot of style to them which elevates it beyond just being a good action sequence. It's also just very pleasing to look at. Most of that is also a testament to how good the stunt work is from everyone. Halle Berry, Keanu Reeves and Mark Dacascos are giving their all to these stunts. Most of the time it's them doing their own stunts, which allows for these wide clean shots where it's the actors doing what they do best. There's no quick cuts or editing tricks to hide that stunt double. It's them doing everything on screen, which, for me, greatly helps in the believability that these people could exist. I can believe John Wick can do all these crazy stunts, because technically he can. I have so much respect for these actors and their craft, especially Keanu, who's going on 55 and he's still fist fighting people and doing flips and motorcycle action scenes, and he doesn't seem to slow down throughout the whole film. It's so awesome. It just goes to show that everyone who was working on this film actually cared about what they were making. They really did try to make the most entertaining film they could, which is very rare for action films, as many of them being made now are only there to make a quick buck. That's not all this movie does great. The story for the film is nothing spectacular, and in the grand scheme of things it's pretty generic. It's literally John Wick on the run from a bunch of assassins who are trying to kill him, and he has to survive. But the simple plot adds instead of takes away from the film. The plot is very easy to follow and never overcomplicates things, but that leads into a greater focus on the action scenes and puts more emphasis on them. They know you're not here to watch a film with a complicated plot with multiple narratives and characters are trying to be important, but in reality they just dilute the entire film. There are so many action films out there that waste your time with this deeply intricate plot that the writers clearly spent a lot of time on. Atomic Blonde is a good example. That's a good action film that has some amazing action scenes, but the whole film is bogged down in this convoluted plot about espionage and double agents, and in all reality, I just didn't care. The movie is trying to force a story down your throat that isn't very interesting while I'm sitting here trying to enjoy the film. I'm conflicted enjoying a good action film that has amazing action scenes and a plot that suits more of a political drama. I end up not caring for what's going on, which leads me to being bored, and for an action film that's quite the failure in my book. John Wick rectifies this by keeping the plot simple, and since all the danger is directly tied to John Wick throughout the film, it keeps all the action scenes intense and I never lose focus in the film. This helps solve a problem the second film has. On rewatch, the first half of the second film gets quite boring because the plot for that film is more complicated as it's trying to set up the world of John Wick, which is fine the first time you watch it because the world is interesting, but like the second or third time you watch it, you realise that a lot of the time is exposition, with characters just explaining the world, and it gets quite tiresome. The third film, however, goes back to John Wick 1 for ideas, where the first film is just a classic revenge story. The third film keeps that simple nature, but also takes the idea of expanding the world from the second by intertwining it into the plot and letting the viewer understand the world without it being explained to us. I also feel they've taken more leeway in the silliness of the film. The first film had jokes and goofy fonts that show that the film isn't meant to be taken too seriously, but I don't think the first two handle the contrast that well between the goofiness and the seriousness. Where in the first two it can become a bit jarring having a flashy font appear in a scene that is meant to be serious, but for the most part in this film it delves into its own wackiness because it's more over the top compared to the first two. There was never any point where I thought there was a tonal clash. That's not dislike the other films though. They do it pretty well, but John Wick 3 really irons it out and perfects it. The last thing I want to point out is that visually the movie has improved so much since the first. My main complaint about the first film is that the colour palette is very dull. Most of the film is washed out in this ugly grey and blue. It never really lightens up, and it's one of the main reasons it doesn't match a bright font that just appears. But this is such a colourful film. There's so many different vibrant and neon colours, which I know neon seems like a bad thing, they have a terrible stigma, but they're never too obnoxious or in your face. They simply enhance the locations and make them more visually appealing. It makes them more memorable because each place is so lively with colour, it sticks with you, and therefore the action scenes are enhanced. John Wick 3 is one of the best action movies, period. The action is fantastic and hosts some of the most exhilarating action scenes. It takes the best things from the previous two films and builds upon them and takes their flaws and sorts them out. It's such an entertaining film. I highly recommend you go see it if you're planning to. Yeah, the film is making a lot of money, but I still want people to support it, so it tells the movie industry that these are the type of action films we want and not this other shit. I have no problem giving this film a 9 out of 10 or possibly a 10 depending how it holds up in future viewings. Probably going to end up giving it a 10. Yeah, John Wick 3 is fucking awesome. Have a nice day everyone. Bruh.